We have got Kristin and Jen from I Mom So Hard. You guys have the Flashback Tour coming to Hollywood Casino in Charlestown, West Virginia on March 22nd. We're so excited to have you guys come to the four-state region. I just want to know, you guys, obviously, your podcast has this true fun and authenticity to it from start to finish, each and every episode. I want to know what parts of that, are, posted up kind of into the show. What do you kind of experience whenever you're in this live production? And what's different between the podcast and the experience there in, the theater?
Well, I definitely think that Jen and I, we write the live show. So it's definitely a little bit more coherent than our podcast, which if you've ever been on our podcast, you're like, oh, we were talking about why like carpool's hard. And now we're talking about, Lou Ferrigno, but then we circled back and now we're on the topic of our arches hurting when we walk. Like there's nothing like, we're not on a level playing field when we're on the podcast. It's just all over the place, which is what we prefer and how we actually talk. But the live show, we've taken all the parts that are important to us and also like really listen to our audience and then infuse that into the kind of show that we wanted to put out there, which was the Flashback Tour, just being like going back in time, thinking about when we were young, comparing that to where our kids are now, going back into talking about how our parents parented us and how they try to parent us now. And then the reverse, how we have to kind of parent them. So it's a really fun mashup of all things from I Mom So Hard, I think.
Yeah. And I know you guys have talked about everything from, birthday party experiences. I think on a most recent episode, you've talked about, kind of like a rock climbing birthday party and different kind of, experiences with the invitations and whatnot. I'm curious to know, have your kids seen the live show and what are their thoughts of it all?
No, they have not seen the live show. I think it will be a long time till they can ever see the live show or listen to the podcast. And the reason why is that we mom so hard and spend so much of our time with these children that we need these little breaks. Like the podcast is your like weekly break to like feel like an adult, like with a person and a brain and not like you're in the fourth grade again, like learning about how the pyramids were made. Like we need this time to like talk about what's really in our life, like our nighttime life, our love life, our marriage, and use a few bad words because we deserve to and we're not around the kids. So no.
Yeah. I don't think my kids want to listen to a podcast episode where I mentioned that my husband is an athletic lover.
Nope.
I
don't think they want to hear about like my facial hair and perimenopause.
They don't want to hear about anybody. They don't. And also they don't want to listen to us. So it's not like they're running to YouTube or to Facebook or anything to be like, I can't wait to hear what my mom has to say. What's her hot take on this? No, they're the opposite.
Me at my very best, I am cringe. So me at my most honest, I think they would
die.
They'd go to live with the neighbors. They would not.
I was going to say, do you ever feel like, whenever maybe, perhaps you're having a phone conversation with your kids, that's maybe like one of those like, hey, I haven't seen my kids in a while. I'm having a 20 to 30 minute phone call with my child. Do you feel like you're ever having almost like an alternative version of the podcast episode whenever you're chatting with them? Like a more, hey, this isn't the experience that we're getting on the podcast, but it's like, hey, this is a different version that I'm giving to my kid now whenever I'm having that conversation? Or is it kind of totally different vibes?
It's so different. Are you kidding? I enjoy the podcast. I don't know. My kid's 14 and my daughter is about to be 12. There is never a 30-minute phone conversation. They want to get off of the phone with you. They know that you're going to go through you're going to tell them you love them. You're going to tell them you miss them. You're going to check in on their day. And then they know what's coming, which is you're going to load the dishwasher. You're going to walk the dogs. And if they can get off the phone before you say those things, the requirement is not required any longer. So they're like, I gotta go. And I'm like, you gotta walk the dog,
I consider a 30-second conversation a big win. Because when we're
totally
like we FaceTime dad, my son gets in like half his face for just a second. He's like, hi, love you, bye. And but that's great. I'm at my best self. I can be such a good parent for 30 seconds a day. It's incredible how good I am. So patient.
Yeah.
you get kind of the quick moments of parenting then whenever you're kind of on the road of like the hi, I love you, have a great day, let's get the quick bits of what's going on, all right, bye kind of thing.
Also,
right?
we can tell if they haven't showered by their hair. So we get on FaceTime and we're like, bud, you got to shower tonight. I can tell it's 2 days, 3 days in. I don't care what your dad says, you're getting in the shower. So
those cameras are super high def nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can smell your hair through the phone, we have an issue.
Yeah. Now, the two of you obviously have been working together for a couple of years now with the podcast and all of your web content, and being on the road, now with a couple of tours and this one coming up. I got to know, what is life like on the road, and what have the two of you learned about each other on the road versus through the podcast? Because I know obviously, I don't know if you're necessarily living with each other whenever you're on the road, but it's practically like that because you're around each other all the time whenever you're, doing that. I know I've gone on tours with other live productions and stuff, in the past. And so you're really close with those people for a long period of time. Tell me what that bond is like on a normal basis.
Well, I'll start with this. And I think Jen gets the worst end of the deal because I'm definitely a more need-based person than she is. I'm reliant on her in every way, but I will say, we do have so much fun. We've been this is our 5th national tour. We've been best friends for almost 20 years, and we've been doing I Mom So Hard for almost 10. So we started originally on a video, doing a web content. We did a web series every week, and now we do content, and then we do the podcast. So we are with each other a lot. And I always say that she's my easiest relationship. She's the one, I'll stay in a fight with my husband for 3 days just because it feels good. But with Jen, if we get into it at any point, I think both of us are we've got to make up because we love each other so much. And this is just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's the easiest person I know.
Well, that's sweet. I am not easy when it comes to sleeping, and neither is Kristin. And we have very different needs. So when we did the first tour, the first thing we said was I love you. You are getting your own room, because she likes to go to bed so early and sleep in a sauna. And I'm I'm going to stay up late. And I turn the air on, even if we're on the East Coast, because I need it to be nice and cold, pitch black. She's got white noise. She's got all the stuff going. And then I like to sleep later. And she's up at 6 a.m. going, let's go get coffee and donuts. No way, man. No way.
But that's what makes the podcast so great, though, is having the different personalities adds that extra variety. Because I feel like if the two of you were always perfectly in agreement on everything or perfectly in sync, then, it would just be probably 2 minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah, we love to talk to each other. So people always ask us what do you guys talk about when you're on the plane? Or what do you talk about when you're at dinner? I'm I don't know, everything. Because we talk all the time to each other about everything all the time. And I guess that's just the perks of being a woman, is that you can really dig into conversation very easily with each other, especially if you like each other.
If we were two dudes, we wouldn't know if the other one was divorced. They don't have that kind of conversation. But Kristin got mad at me last week because she'd never heard this story from high school. She's angry. She's how have I never heard this? I'm keep a little tucked away to surprise you.
I was mad. I was hold on a second. That's a formative experience. I should have heard about this years ago.
Well, and I'm curious too, whenever you guys are doing the podcast, has there ever been a moment where you guys are on a topic and things have just gotten so wildly unhinged and off the tracks that you've almost had to kind of take a pause and almost start things over?
That's
just
called
stop
our
the
podcast.
recording?
That's
okay.
That's that should be our log line. I don't know if the other thing has ever happened where we're I think we're too linear.
Wild Unhinged could be the title of almost every podcast episode, but we will. And I would say, because we're trying to show our lives and our friendship and personalities, sort of warts and all that, there's probably only been 4 or 5 times in the last year where we've gone, I didn't mean to say that. And sometimes it's something that we feel might be too personal about our kids, because we're not really trying to throw them under the bus. It's usually the job that we're doing that we're trying to criticize, but we usually try to be as honest as possible. So sorry, everybody.
No, I mean, I think that's what everybody loves is the sorry, not sorry. We got the honesty thing right there. So perfect. Well, hey, before we wrap things up, in a couple of weeks, we got March Madness, big basketball tournament coming up. So I thought we'd end things with a quick little tournament of TV and movie moms with a little mom madness. And so up on the screen here, I have got a couple of matchups of moms, and I'll read them aloud for you guys too, just in case that's like the smallest possible print on the earth for you guys too. But we've got a couple of great matchups here. Some of them have some themes to them, but some of them are a little bit of a mixed bag. But we'll start off for you guys, and we'll rapid fire these. We got Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls, of course, versus Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show. Who would you guys pick to move on to the next round?
I got to go Kitty.
I got to go Kitty.
All right.
Love her.
Yeah.
I'm considering that one.
My lady.
I was like, as a Gilmore Girls fan, I'm thinking that's an upset for me right there.
Nobody's messing with Kitty. She went and asked her kids for a cigarette. She told them to close her eyes, and she knew that somebody had him, so she made everybody close their eyes and give a cigarette. So she closed her eyes, so she didn't know which kid was giving her a cigarette. I'm like, that's my lady. So Kitty might win the whole thing for me.
She's the mom that we grew up with. She's our generation mom. So
All right, you got me convinced. All right, next round, we've got Claire Dunphy from Modern Family versus Amy Poehler, the cool mom in Mean Girls. You know, not just any mom, but a cool mom.
I go Poehler.
It's hard to beat Poehler in any context, honestly.
Oof, it's going to make the second round tough. Next matchup, we've got Aunt Becky from Full House versus Rebecca Pearson, who is Mandy Moore's character in This Is Us, in case you were wondering.
Man. Aunt Becky.
Is it no contest? Mm-hmm. No contest.
That's what I'm thinking too, because the other one's a little sad too. Like that one's just, it tugs too much at the heartstrings, right?
Yes.
And then finally, we got Marge Simpson versus Mrs. Incredible, a little cartoon round there.
I'm going to go Mrs. Incredible.
She's got those hips.
Yeah, and I love that she yells at him that he needs to engage. I've never felt like Pixar or Disney has ever nailed something more than when a woman yells at the man that's sitting at the table to check in and do something for once. So I go Mrs. Incredible on that.
I'll agree to that. I can do that.
It is one of the most real of Disney Pixar movies. All right.
True.
Well, in the quarterfinals, we have got Kitty Foreman versus Amy Poehler. That's a difficult one. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys here.
What do you think, Jen? I'm gonna go Kitty again.
Go Kitty. I'm
gonna go Kitty.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. And then we've got Aunt Becky versus Mrs. Incredible.
I'm gonna go Mrs. Incredible.
Oh, I'll go along with you. I'm a big Aunt Becky fan, though. Wait, doesn't she voice Mrs. Incredible too?
No.
If she does, then that would be an incredible situation. But I don't think Lori Loughlin does.
No,
okay.
No, it's now my brain is gonna.
They sound alike.
Crap out. They do sound a little bit alike.
Yeah, I feel like with the Lori Loughlin scandal from a couple of years ago, we would have probably heard about Mrs. Incredible a couple of times in the news.
We're talking Aunt Becky, and we're talking Aunt Becky's willing to make some moves on the side, if you know what I mean. Maybe we are messing with a pro.
All right, and the final matchup here: Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show versus Mrs. Incredible. Who is your top mom in Mom Madness? Who do we got?
I'm going to go Kitty.
Me too.
I'm going to go Kitty.
All right. I did not expect this, but Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show is the mom champion of Mom Madness. I'm here for it.
She's the one that deserves all the accolades.
I love her.
Fantastic. Kristin, Jen, I mom so hard. Love the podcast. Love the content y'all are putting out. Can't wait for the Flashback Tour, Hollywood Casino, Charlestown, West Virginia, coming up March 22nd. Anything you want to add to let everybody know about the show coming up here in just a few weeks?
We've had women showing up, dressing up in flashback clothes, and it's made it so fun. So come with your best 80s gear. Come with your best concert t-shirt. We don't care what you wear, but if you dress up, it makes the night so fun. And it's our first time back in West Virginia in a really long time, and we cannot wait to tear it up. The show has been so fun.
Yes, that's awesome. Jen, how about you? Anything else?
crimp that hair, ladies. Make those bangs as big and tall as you. I mean, that could be your only dressing up, and we would appreciate it. We want to see them from the stage, ladies.
Awesome. Kristin, Jen, thank you guys so much. Congratulations on everything and looking forward to the show.
Thanks,
Thank you.